Welcome back to Open Studio. I'm Steve Leahy. Okay, we're doing it. We're getting there. Alright. So back to the paintbrush on this. Still kind of working on this tank and the frame and getting everything buttoned up. On the last episode, I kind of did what I could with the airbrush, but there's a lot of details on this that just would be better with the paintbrush. I can shore up these edges really quickly. Where I've got that nice edge from the template, that's great and all, but the paintbrush can just do some things much easier than the airbrush. Tightening up those edges, for instance, the edge is darker than the rest of it, so it's nice to be able to do that with the paintbrush. If I did it with the airbrush, it would be tighter, but it would be more of a fade across the whole thing, and that's not necessarily how it is. So I try to keep it more in line with what's really going on there. And I know you guys have all been following me. You know that I use the same paintbrush all the time. This is a Winsor & Newton Series 7 00. Get you guys closer here while we're working on this stuff. 00 is the brush that I use all the time. I do swap back and forth between the 0 and the 00, and sometimes even use the 1, but for the investment it's pretty easy to pick up all three. I mean, this brush here is roughly about $20, so it's not terribly cheap, but it's also, because you're buying the smaller ones, it's also not crazy expensive. If you do watercolor and you buy these brushes across the board, the bigger brushes can get into hundreds of dollars. They are absolutely positively worth it if you're a watercolorist, but yeah, what's nice about the smaller ones is they're priced accordingly. So again, $20 isn't necessarily cheap for a tiny brush, but it is by far the best detail brush that I've ever used, and I've been using them for forever. So all these edges where it's a sharp dark against a light, this is what the paintbrush will do really well. It'll just set that edge so that when I go back in and airbrush the fades between them, I've already got the edges all set up and they're ready to go, so I don't have to get real close to them. Good. Most of the area down in here is really, really dark, so I don't have to do too much paintbrush work down here. Just again, it's all about the edges. It's all about kind of figuring out what I'm going to have to do with a stencil, if anything, and what I can get away with the paintbrush, and then just kind of go from there. Feeling this, even what I'm doing right now with this umber color, I feel like it even go with just straight up black, but we'll see what happens. I may have to go over some of these areas again to darken them up, but I may not have to either. It may end up being that the airbrush can get close enough to that with the black and it just kind of blends out. That happens a lot too. Yep, this is going to work out okay. And again, a lot of these details are really buried. This whole area is really dark in the end. And then here we get into the motor, so I don't have to do too much, but I can also do the same thing. I can set the edge of this pipe even though, you know, a lot of this stuff here on the right hand side of this is going to be motor, I can kind of get that started right now, which is good. And now it's dark under there too. Okay, that's good. That's going to be more of a grayish color. These have like a rubber pad on them, and this one is no exception. So the other side has that same rubber pad, so I'll wait to do that. We'll switch that over to a grayish color when I get there. I'll probably do both of these pads at the same time. This looks like it was re-welded. I actually do. I think it was re-welded. Re-welded. There's some, and it's not a good weld either. It's an ugly weld. But again, everything tells a story, so I'm gonna kind of go with whatever's there. Now the next step down here is I'm not going to redo the burnt umber. I've got plenty of that on there. We're going to jump right to the black when I do the rest of the black. What I am going to do now, since there's some bluish highlights here and there, I'm going to drop those in now. So I'm just going to make up another light blue. That's, I don't know what that is. It's not white though. This is a little bit too blue. If I put this on there the way it is, it's going to really look blue. So I'm going to add a little bit of black to that to gray it out a little bit. So with this color here, there's, again, some of these bolts are probably stainless or something that resists that oxidation. So they're a lot brighter than everything else around them. So I'm going to kind of drop those in first. Yeah. We get those highlights in first. So again, some of this is going to get lost with the airbrushing, but I want that. You know, this again, it's all about blending it all out. And then at the very end, what I'll be able to do is I'll be able to pull out some of the brightest highlights that need to be pulled out. So it's kind of a two-stage thing here. So again, I'm basing it, I'm prepping it with this lighter blue, and then I'll do the details on it as soon as I've got the black in. Yeah, and then the weld up here. It's like I said, it's a pretty rough weld. So I don't know, it's a homemade job or what, but it ain't real pretty. But that's good. I like it. It goes with the rest of the bike. All right, clean that out, and we are ready to jump to black. So what I'm gonna do is I still have, because I'm filming all these right in a row, I still have the blue in this brush. I'm going to swap it out with black, because this, now that I'm doing the detail, like a really fine application of that color, I want to use this micron for that, the B, because it just processes that thin paint really well. And I'll be able to use straight black. If I was using a brush that maybe has a little less control and I wanted to kind of sneak up on it, then yeah, I'd probably, like if I only had like a 0.3 millimeter brush, for instance, then the next step I think probably would be another brownish black, but more on the black side. And then the final one, since it would be just black by itself, I would only want to put just a tiny bit on there at the end, because I don't want any kind of surprises or blowouts or anything. So that's probably the way I'd handle it. But because again, this brush processes paint so well, I can just go for it because I know it can control the paint really well. I want to use, for this I want to use 1 to 10. So this is this is 1 part paint to 10 parts reducer. It's 4011 reducer, and it's opaque jet black. So put some of that in there. And now what I can do, maybe we can get you closer. Maybe. Let's try it. It's gonna have to be at an angle, but it's gonna be worth it because you'll be able to see a little bit more. So again, you're at kind of an extreme angle, but at least this way I'll be able to, oh, you know what I can do? I know what I'll do. A bit bigger field of vision. this, and then we'll zoom you guys in. That's as far as it zooms. The trick is to get the camera not in my way. All right, let's see if we can focus that now. Come on, come around to me. You can do it. Oh, did I get it? No. Ooh. Yeah, it's gonna work. Okay. Okay, so black and this brush. All the blue out of there. All right. All right, so now it's a matter of, and you know, again with this brush, I mean, I can almost get the same control I can out of the paintbrush. So I get right up on it. So now the fact that I've put in those areas, you know, where I've kind of painted in the edges with the paintbrush, I'll be able to sneak right up against that with this brush, and it's going to form that perfectly sharp line like I had a template for it. And it looks like I used a template on it. You know what I mean? It's got that sharp edge on one side and then it fades out on the other side of it. So again, I couldn't pull this off with a bigger brush, you know, a brush that doesn't have the same kind of control. I'd have to do like an intermediate step. I'd have to, like I said, I'd have to do broader areas with a slightly less intense black. And then the very last bit of it, I could either use a template or something like that to kind of finish it. But again, with this brush, I can just get right in there and do it. So funny because I don't know, and we're talking about like trying to stay engaged and stay interested in it. When I get to this part of the painting, I really love doing this stuff, this really like airbrushy, nitpicky, like get right on it type of thing. So for me, the time really passes by quick when I'm at this stage. The part I like the least, I think, is the beginning section, you know, the beginning parts where I'm blocking stuff in. It just, I don't know, it just doesn't seem to move fast enough for me. Which is weird because you would think, you know, that kind of quick blocking in and all that, you'd think that, you know, it would be okay. It would be, for me, it would be like, you know, that's fast enough and it's entertaining, but I don't know. I guess it's different for everyone, you know. Like some people, like my dad was great at saying stuff like this. He said he would do the grunt work, and I mean I say this, and he said this, but he was so detail oriented, it was crazy. But he would always say that he does all the grunt work, and you know he leaves all the detail work, the finished work, up to someone else. Now, if you knew my dad and what he did, that's not true at all. But that's what he liked. He enjoyed the you know, if he's building a piece of furniture, he loved figuring it out and putting it all together and making, you know, basically getting the thing built. What he didn't like was adding all the trim and, you know, the finish and that kind of thing. It wasn't his favorite. So it's interesting how everyone's kind of take on the different parts of a project are different. So even for the black too, it doesn't hurt to grab, you know, to grab a template to really like shore up an edge, really get it nice and sharp and dark. Again, there are no real prizes that I know of for doing it with any one tool. Yeah, that just crisps that up really, really nicely. I like it. Same thing with this down here too. It just needs to, yeah, it just needs to be sharp. Sorry about the squealing template. It's working. Interestingly enough, the shadow underneath this bike is a lot stronger than what I have here. So that's going to be good for the repairs. It means I can still add more paint to this and it's still going to be close to the original. That's actually really, really good news. So a lot of these scratchy repairs that are just off the camera here, like that, a lot of those are going to be fixed very easily. Just depends on how dark I want to get that shadow at the end. That's what it's going to boil down to. I may not want to get it as dark as the photograph. So we shall see. A lot of those decisions, again, they're final adjustment type decisions. So I'll just sit way back and look at the whole thing and say, okay, yeah, you know what, the shadow needs to be darker or whatever. Yeah, see around this too, there's like a weird halo around the outside edge of these two little bolts right here, which bugs me. So I'm going to have to go darker on the shadow, but again, it's not a big deal at all. Okay, who's next? I'm going to fade, I'm going to put some black on the motor here, just to kind of, again, I want to get that edge done on this frame, just so I don't have to go near it again. So while there's a lot of work obviously that needs to be done on the motor, I'm just going to kind of get that edge in so that when I get to that, I don't have to go near it. Good. Done a little bit. Guys, a little bit more. Ah, a little bit more light. What do you know? After I'm done with the painting, and before the next episode, I take a photograph. So if you look, well, all right. So I'll give you the honest answer here. I don't always do this. Mostly I do this, but sometimes I forget. But what I do is at the end of the episode, I'll take a photograph, and that'll be the photo. That'll be the photo on that episode. So you should be able to see what's coming by the photo. But sometimes I forget. So sometimes I've doubled up, but not often. But what I do is I move the lights away because if there's too much light on it, you can't see anything. So I just forgot to move them back there. There's another little scene here. Good. So you see what I mean about the black? Like I can get down to completely black here. But if I fade it out, it still has that nice warm brownish color to it. Some blacks don't do that. You know, some blacks are more greenish colored. So, you know, it would, as I'm fading this around, you'd get that, you definitely see that greenish cast to it. Some are more blue, some are cooler blacks. And again, that's where having your colors on your palette that you're really, really familiar with benefit you quite a bit, because I know that this brown is really warm. So I'm ready for it. So if I needed a cool black here, I would have done all that underpainting with blue first. So that way when I did this stage of it, I'd get that really cool color in the black. That seems to, I don't think I got this angle right, or this curve right. It seems to scoop down a little bit more. So let's fix that right now. There we go. Excellent day. Good. The other fun thing about this stage too is when I'm done with this, it's pretty much, I mean, this whole area down here is pretty much done. I mean, there is some, you know, I mean, I can do with this, there is some texture that kind of, you know, I kind of missed, but which I can do with this, but this is, again, it's such a versatile step right now because I can get so much out of this black that, that I can do just about, you know, any of those adjustments along the way. But again, when I'm done with this, it's pretty much done. And that's also the fun part about this, a stage like this. You know, when you back up, it's like, oh, hey, that's all set. I don't have to work on that anymore. So interesting because this brush, because the nozzle opening is so small in it as well, it just whispers air. You know, it's like there's so little air coming out of this. Where if I switch, and don't even touch the pressure, if I switch to another brush, it sounds like a wind tunnel coming out of it. This brush has just so little air coming out of it. Like I said, it's totally built for detail and not much else. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't even begin to think about putting anything like metallics in here or, you know, anything like that. Base coat sealers, even properly reduced clears like UVLS, where you just put 10% reducer in it, that would never go through this brush. It'd just be clogged all the time. And again, you're not going to use your Ferrari to go pick up mulch, so it's the same kind of thing. I mean, you might, if you have that kind of disposable income, then that's impressive. All right, so this top edge here, it's pretty dark. So we'll attack that in a second with a template. I'm going to have to turn the painting upside down to get at it. There's even a dark edge on, actually on all of it. Yeah, I'm going to have to do a little bit of homework. I have some people I can call to, so that I think, you know, will help me track down the owner of this bike. Again, this is one of those things. There aren't a whole ton of them out there, and certainly there aren't a ton of them that looks like this bike. So I'm sure I could find out who owns it. All right, so I flip it upside down, grab the template again. So what I want to do is I want to get that edge in, but I don't want to make it really dark. I just want to use this edge to kind of create that roll over there. It's not going to take much. Perfect. That works. Come on in. Get hung up here. There we go. Let's see what we're looking like now. Yeah. Oh, don't drop it. There we go. Yeah, it's coming together really well. I still feel like it's not terribly focused. Oh, that looks good. Same thing with this outside edge, but this outside edge, I want to make sure I get that curve pretty well, or really well. Yeah, that's good. And again, it's all a balancing act, so this time I'm not going to use the straight black. So again, the paintbrush puts things on more with more strength than the airbrush does. You have a lot more control over the application of paint. I mean, you can literally put the paint on in a microscopic level with the airbrush. So I'm going to use the burnt umber mix for this, not black. Because if I use black with the brush, even reduced and even dry brush, that's going to be really, really dark. So I'll use the burnt umber mix for that, and that'll give me that edge really nicely. And if I needed anywhere else, I would have, just dropped it in with the paintbrush here. But the rest of it came out good. It was just that one corner that I wanted to get. Overall, that whole thing's a lot darker too, so good. So again, just keep an eye on the reference and keep an eye on, really leaning back. Make sure you're at the right spot, and then you can make your overall adjustments, and it should come together. Yeah, I'm feeling good about that. Really good about that. How did I scratch that? Oh, you guys were here. How did I scratch that? Right there. Those two scratches, where did they come from? Well, we'll have to fix them. I haven't done the motor yet, so that one's not a big deal. This one down here is in pretty much darkness anyway, so again, random damage. We just don't know what to do with it. Okay. We have about 3 minutes left in this episode, so that'll give me enough time to hit this last upright, and then I think the frame is in really, really good shape. So for this one, I need a little bit longer template than maybe some of the ones I have, those mini ones. So I'll just grab a full-size template for this. This is one of my favorites, the foundational Eddie Young. This is FH2, one of the very, very first templates to come out, and still one of my favorites. It just seems to have, for larger paintings, it seems to have just every single curve. I am an active proponent and very hopeful that our tool will issue all of these templates, the original 7, in a micro version, in a small version. That would make my life. So here's one of them. This actually came out as a special kind of oh, why is it doing that? Sorry about that. Hold on. Sorry about that. I'm gonna have to go back and look to see how much of that was totally messed up, but I apologize for that. Get back to this. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Let me refocus this first. Oh, you know what I'll do? It likes to focus on letters, so we'll focus on the letters. Okay. So this is the FH7, which is one of the original. It's one of the original templates in the set, except it was big. It was really big. It's called a big shield for a reason. So this is one of the 7. So when they had the anniversary, the 20th anniversary for this, they came out with this special set of big shields where you have, I think it was 3 or 4 different ones, including this little mini version of it. So my hope is that they do the entire, all the Essential 7 as a mini template, because that'd be end game for me. Okay, so I'm sorry about that. I'm fearful to go watch this back now to see how much of that was truly out of focus, because I forgot to set that up. I ask a lot of these lenses and cameras and all that stuff. They're fighting with severe angles and me wanting to get you guys super close and all that, so it's something that I need to be better about maintaining so that you guys aren't looking off into Narnia. Alright, same thing on the other side of this. We'll set up this side, and we are looking really, really good on this. think I would have liked more orange in this. I might be able to make some adjustments in the end, but all in all, not terrible. And then overall, this is a lot darker. So we worked on the frame, and I didn't do any of this on the tank, but the next step is to take the same black and apply that black to the tank and everything, and finish the tank up. But I'm happy I got the frame done. That's a big thing. It had to be done anyway, and it's the same application. So see what I mean about the glare? So I usually move the light off so that it doesn't, when it takes a photograph, it doesn't, all glary. But that's what we got. That's where we're at. So thank you all again. Again, if you had a good time, please like and subscribe and share it if you can. And again, I will collect all the thanks and super thanks and all those fun things. Again, we filmed all these in a row, so I will catch up on that as soon as I get settled on the next episode. So thank you all very much. You guys are the best. Have a great week, and I will catch you next time. Thanks a lot.